Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the deep end to unpack a truly fascinating homily delivered by Father Joel Jamarsuskatuntis. Instead of giving us, a dry theology lesson, he tackles something incredibly raw and relevant, the core paradox of spiritual leadership in the modern world. We're going to look closely at the intense, honestly contradictory expectations placed on religious figures, and the very real human reality hidden right behind the collar. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Airplane Analogy.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because Father Gatus opens up with this striking, highly visual metaphor that just instantly hooks you. He says priests are like airplanes. We only talk about them when one crashes. Think about that for a second. There are thousands of airplanes flying safely right now, and we literally don't give them a second thought. But the very moment one crashes, it's absolute global news. He points out that society treats the priesthood the exact same way. We completely ignore the thousands of priests quietly serving their communities day in and day out, but the moment one fails, it's sensationalized, it's everywhere. And this really sets the stage for a much deeper look at these impossible standards.
Which brings us to Section 2, the impossible expectations.
Building on that airplane idea, the homily shifts into this incredible rhythm, laying out what is basically a relentless no-win scenario. It starts with the absolute basics, like the length of a sermon. If a priest gives a long homily, people immediately complain that it's boring, it puts them to sleep. But if he gives a short one, everyone just assumes he's rushing to get it over with. There's just no middle ground.
And it definitely doesn't stop at the pulpit. Even their facial expressions are constantly scrutinized. If a priest is always smiling and cheerful, people accuse him of being showbiz or treating the Mass like it's entertainment. But then, if he's quiet and serious, the narrative flips completely. Suddenly, people are whispering that he looks angry or unapproachable.
Then there's the harsh judgment of their work ethic. If a priest is exhausted and actually takes some time to rest, well, the murmurs start that he's just lazy. Conversely, if he works incredibly hard and takes on a ton of projects, he immediately gets labeled a show-off who just wants to be the center of attention. This extends right into the public square, too. Look at the political tightrope they have to walk. If a priest speaks up about political issues or social justice, he's accused of meddling where he doesn't belong. But if he stays completely quiet on politics, he's criticized for lacking courage and not caring about the real world.
Honestly, the list of paradoxes is just exhausting. If he mingles, he's never at the parish. If he stays in, he's a snob. If the church is kept simple, he lacks vision. If it's beautiful, he's living in luxury. If he's active online, he's just trying to be a content creator. If he's offline, he's hopelessly left behind. The absolute key takeaway here is that no matter what a priest does, someone, somewhere, is going to find a flaw. They are literally trapped in a maze of contradictory expectations.
Section 3. The Hidden Burdens.
Now, after listing all these rapid-fire criticisms, the homily takes a profound shift in tone. It moves away from the noisy public opinion and into the sobering internal emotional reality of their shared humanity. What's really interesting here is the raw vulnerability. Father Gatus explicitly strips away that mythical aura we so often place on the clergy. He states it plainly. We are not robots. We are not instant saints. It's such a powerful reminder that taking vows doesn't magically erase your human nature. And that humanity comes with a really heavy, often completely unseen emotional toll. They get tired. They get hurt. They get sad. Father Gatus highlights a deeply poignant truth here. The priest who is always smiling at the altar, the one constantly listening to everyone else's problems, he often has absolutely no one to share his own heavy burdens with. They cry in secret, and just like the rest of us, they desperately crave understanding.
Moving to Section 4, Instruments of Grace. So you have to ask, why do they stay? If the expectations are this impossible, and the emotional burden is so heavy, why keep going? Well, the homily answers this by looking at the theology of their vocation. They don't continue because they're perfect. They continue because they're instruments of grace. This is probably the most brilliant theological point Father Gatus makes. He explains that God is not out there searching for flawless individuals. Instead, God uses beautifully broken things to accomplish the work. He uses the hands of a sinful priest to grant forgiveness, the mouth of a crying man to preach hope, and a deeply wounded heart to show love. The real power doesn't come from the man's perfection at all. It comes entirely from his willingness to serve.
To really hammer this point home, he actually pauses the homily to ask the congregation a massive rhetorical question. If there are no priests, who will bless you? It's this arresting moment designed to completely snap the audience out of their critical mindset and pivot them straight toward deep, profound appreciation. And this brilliantly illustrates what society so frequently takes for granted. I mean, just think about the life cycle of spiritual care here. Who's going to bless your marriage? Who will sit there in the confessional? Who brings holy oil to the sick? Who is the person literally running to the hospital in the middle of the night when someone is taking their very last breath? Despite all their flaws, priests show up for the absolute most critical, vulnerable moments of human life.
Section 5. Empathy over judgment.
Which brings us to the ultimate conclusion and the core call to action. Having laid out their humanity, their burdens, and their essential role, Father Gatus gently guides his listeners away from judgment and toward genuine empathy. This is a massive, powerful climax. He argues that true love leaves absolutely zero room for judgment. If you notice a flaw in a spiritual leader, your immediate response shouldn't be to tear them down. It should be to lift them up in prayer. He seals this message with one final, profound analogy. Just as dirty, imperfect soil is required to grow a beautiful plant and bear fruit, God intentionally uses flawed, imperfect priests to bless the world. Their mistakes and shortcomings shouldn't be fuel for gossip. They should be an invitation for the community to step up and support them spiritually.
Which leaves us with this final question to reflect on. We all have our biases, right? And it is incredibly easy to be a critic, especially of those in leadership. But after unpacking this homily, the challenge is crystal clear. Will you offer a prayer instead of a critique today? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this truly fascinating perspective on the human side of spiritual leadership. Catch you in the next explainer.